Strokes are the fifth leading cause of death here in the United States and the leading cause of disability worldwide. So in the Fox 8 House Call this morning, we want to talk about preventing strokes and the warning signs you should know. Jamie Buhajer is a family nurse practitioner with Novant Health Stroke Bridge Clinic. That's a lot, but it's very important to say the Novant Health Stroke Bridge Clinic because you serve a very important purpose, correct?
Correct.
And that comes to letting people know that what a stroke is, what it causes, and how it can be prevented. It's very much a three-pronged thing, right?
Yeah, no, the Stroke Bridge Clinic is great. We do so much, stroke is such a profound disabling condition, and so we really wanted to design a clinic that would help that patient population. The clinic itself was designed to where myself, a nurse, and a pharmacist operate within it.
Oh, wow.
And we try to essentially bridge this gap of getting patients out of the hospital and into this outpatient setting so that they feel comfortable and confident in the medical care they just received and knowing now what the next step is. How do we prevent this? What are my medicines for? Is this the right process? What am I doing? So we really wanted to make sure that they had that confidence and that education to know that they're on the right path for recovery.
So truly, you're a bridge to from before or to after.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. I like that. So for folks who may not be familiar with a stroke, what exactly is a stroke?
So a stroke, essentially, there's some different types of strokes, but the stroke that most people think of is something called an ischemic stroke. So we think of strokes where there is a blockage or lack of blood flow getting to a portion of the brain. Something is blocking that path, and now the brain can't breathe. It's being deprived of oxygen. So we have to figure out how to get that blood flow to get restored. We have to get that brain to breathe again. We need oxygen to get to that part of the brain.
Right. And so can it be hereditary?
So there are some conditions that sometimes can be hereditary. A lot of people ask, is this because my mom, my dad had strokes, my grandparents had strokes? And a lot of times that opens up the conversation, well, it might not be the stroke itself because there are some clotting disorders that people can inherit, but it might be the conditions maybe that were inherited that also increase that stroke risk. So things like high cholesterol or hypertension or diabetes, those are the things that we typically see that may have been part of the inheritance or acquired over time because of poor lifestyle habits.
And those are the things that we can actually change and control, correct?
Oh, very much so. So we spend a lot of time talking about managing their blood pressure, checking it at home, making sure we talk about lifestyle habits with diet, and I give them a lot of information to take home on a breakdown of what foods to take in, what foods not to take in. We also talk about that diabetes control, checking their blood sugars, smoking. We have a lot of talk about smoking, and this is really any type of tobacco use. Some people don't think of just the cigarettes, but they forget about things like the pouches and vaping, all this other stuff that's kind of come into play now that now has to be part of our discussion. Sleep apnea, actually, I feel like is often almost like a hidden unspoken thing that people don't think of. And so I talk about that a lot in the office too, talk about the importance of managing their sleep apnea condition. Heart arrhythmias are something also that we see. So there are certain heart arrhythmias that can increase that stroke risk. So we talk about how those things could have caused this clot to have traveled up into their brain as well.
And the earlier that you see a problem and get help, the better the outcome. Am I right about that?
So time is brain. We
time
stress
is brain.
that.
I like that.
Yeah, so that is something I say right off the bat. I say time is brain. You have to get 911 on board. And the reason why we say call 911, don't drive yourself. Don't let a family member drive you to the hospital. We want 911 to come and pick you up because this is going to activate a code stroke. So this is going to get that hospital system to start the process so that everything is ready for that person when they get there. They're going to call ahead. They're going to make sure the blood sugars are checked, the blood pressures are checked. They're going to make sure they have a pharmacist, a neurologist on board, a CT scanner open for you. So all of this stuff automatically gets put into play the moment you call 911. So yes, time is of the essence. Time is brain. We've got to get that going. There are certain interventions that people can get, and if they don't get to the hospital fast enough, they might not be able to receive those. So there's a medicine you can get, but you have to get there within 4.5 to 6 hours. There's a window. There's another procedure you can get done perhaps, but you have to get there within 24 hours. So really, if you don't get to the hospital fast enough, that stroke might now be permanently disabling to you. But if you can get one of these interventions, your disability might be down, or you might make a full recovery.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So be fast when it comes to, seeing the signs and symptoms and knowing more about it. Thank you so much for being with us. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.